What's good, y'all? It's your boy Ross back at again with another video. So I'm going to check out 10 wrestlers WWE buried for getting too popular on their own. We've seen this time and time again, especially back in the Vince McMahon era. If you got over on your own for whatever reason, sometimes Vince will punish you and try to stifle your push or stifle your popularity because you didn't get over the way they wanted you to, or you may have, caused, I guess, fans to react to you better than the people that they've chosen. It's very weird. Vince was all about grabbing the brass ring. Well, people would grab the brass ring and then still get, pushed down the card as punishment. It's a very weird situation, but we're going to check out some of these moments where it happened. Appreciate all love, support. Let's get right into this video, man.
Good luck. I'm just being straight up with you. I don't want you to win.
10 wrestlers WWE
Sounds about
resented
right.
for getting popular on their own. Number 10, Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder deserves all the credit in the world for breaking the mold when it came to being a pro wrestler. Ryder was one of the first wrestlers to use his online presence to make a name for himself. He truly set the template on how to use social media to create a likable character that could be translated to television. When Ryder first started his YouTube series, WWE would actively ignore the fact that Ryder was slowly but surely gaining a huge following. This following gradually increased over time, and by late 2011, Ryder was one of the most popular pro wrestlers in the digital space. Unfortunately for Ryder and the fans, WWE had no plans to feature him in a meaningful role. He was regularly featured on WWE Superstars, a sign that WWE had zero interest in featuring him on Raw or SmackDown. But due to pressure from fans and no doubt some internal figures within WWE, they would loosely commit to Ryder's push. But the way this was handled was horrendously done. And then WWE would transition to a bizarre storyline which saw Ryder involved in a story with Kane, Eve Therese, and John Cena. Eventually, the crowd just gave up on the idea, as WWE were evidently not going to invest any resources into making Ryder.
Once they pushed him off that damn stage, that was like a metaphor for his career in WWE. It was over. It was done. They didn't care for him. He got over. They didn't care. He was selling like damn near, he was rivaling John Cena for merch sales at one point. I believe. I could be wrong on that. But he was selling a lot of merch, pushing a lot of merch. They bought in on that. But outside of that, that's it. And it's very unfortunate.
A major player in the company. Number 9, Rusev. Rusev Day at one point in time were arguably the hottest act in WWE. Yet in typical WWE fashion, they resented the fact that names they didn't plan on pushing were getting over with the crowd organically. Despite the crowd actively heckling segments and matches with support for Rusev, WWE blatantly ignored it. And according to Road Dogg, who was writing SmackDown at the time, anytime he pitched something with Rusev Day, it was immediately shot down. We saw Rusev Day getting over. I honestly don't know what happened to Rusev Day. One day we were pushing it and the next day we weren't. Honestly, when I say we were pushing it, it didn't go away. It didn't just disappear, we just weren't doing anything with it anymore. Every time I would pitch something, it would get shot down. So I don't know what happened. I'm not going to say anything because last time I said something, I got a phone call. I'm not going to have that happen again. But honestly, I don't know what went down that all of a sudden we stopped running with it because it was going really well.
Vince went down. That sounds wild. Pause. Vince is the reason why shit did not go where it needed to go. There we go. That sounds a little bit better.
No doubt Road Dogg is referencing Vince McMahon, as it was widely reported that McMahon wasn't a fan of the gimmick.
Of course.
Number 8, Taz. Taz had the perfect WWE debut. He debuted at the 2000 Royal Rumble by defeating Kurt Angle, and it looked set that Taz was going to be a main event level star in WWE. But unfortunately, this push and strong presentation didn't last at all, as within just a few short weeks, Taz would fall dramatically down the card. Taz was booked to face Big Boss Man at the No Way Out pay-per-view, and logic would indicate that this would be another easy victory for Taz. However, WWE decided to end the match via a DQ. Following this backwards creative move, he would be moved down to the hardcore division, and before fans knew it, he was losing to Crash Holly on television. Taz was immensely popular with the audience, and he was translating well, so there was no reason as to why they shouldn't have kept the push alive. According to the legendary Jim Ross on his podcast, it was complaints from other wrestlers that led to Vince McMahon destroying the push altogether.
Damn.
People thought his suplexes were dangerous, all this other stuff. A lot of talents get back to Vince and say, you know, I really don't want to work with this guy. He's dangerous. So they tell me that, but they'd tell Vince that. He heard it enough, and he saw that a lot of the top talents were uncomfortable in stepping in the ring with Taz. He finally took it to heart. Taz's WWE run could have been incredible, but unfortunately, backstage politics played a crucial role in the run and not living up to expectations.
That's cold.
Number 7, Baron Corbin.
Yep.
One of the more shocking WWE releases in recent memory came in 2024 when they decided to release Baron Corbin. Whilst Corbin had an up and down WWE tenure, during his final few years in the company, he'd worked endlessly to get better at his craft, and he managed to build an organic and consistent rapport with the audience. Corbin had an acclaimed run in NXT alongside Bron Breakker, and when he returned to the main roster, the fans were urging WWE to use him in any capacity. But popularity aside, WWE Creative just had no plans for him, and Corbin's release highlighted that even in the Triple H era, not every organically over wrestler is going to be given the spotlight. Number 6, Cesaro.
Which was very unfortunate too. I mean, I feel like they didn't really give him a chance. Even under the Triple H era, they didn't give him a chance. They gave him a chance in NXT. They didn't give him a chance back on the main roster. And they just was like, all right, well, we see you later, bro. But, hey, man, Baron Corbin's going to be he's doing great things for himself. So, you know, it's just unfortunate for fans that wanted to see him actually kind of flourish. Because they were giving him shit gimmicks that he tried to make the best of. And, you know, it was just really unfortunate, to be honest with you.
Oro. But there were rumors for years that Vince McMahon wasn't a fan of Cesaro, and he resented the fact that fans actually loved him.
Yeah.
This was all but confirmed when McMahon appeared on Stone Cold's podcast and basically verbally buried the former US champion. McMahon would state that Cesaro had failed to grab the brass ring. McMahon would even declare that Cesaro wasn't a draw, implying that Cesaro could never make him any substantial amount of money. These comments received major backlash from fans, as it was seen as totally unprofessional and had no place on a public platform. Things were never the same for Cesaro after the infamous podcast, as although he was given mini pushes over the years, WWE just never had any genuine plans for the Swiss Superman.
Nope.
Number 5.
And it also comes down to him not being able to, he wasn't really good on the microphone. He wasn't. He was not good on the microphone, so that didn't help. Great in the ring, you know, I guess you can say, you know, had that personality of someone that can go in the ring, but just didn't have like the verbal chops to match that. But we've seen in the past people that weren't verbally good, you know, at giving promos and stuff, but could sell you on a good match. And guess what? He could give you a good match. I still remember fondly of him having that one match with Roman Reigns when he was in the Tribal Chief era, and he had a great match. It was just a one and done match. But it was fantastic. That was a really good match that he had with Roman Reigns, and that was it, you know. But Vince just didn't really see much in him, even though he had a lot to offer, I feel like. So,
Christian. It's been well established over the years that Vince McMahon had a personal issue with Christian.
Yeah.
When Christian was insanely popular in 2004 to 2005, McMahon outright refused to make him world champion, despite the audience, and no doubt his peers, wanting him in the prestigious role. Christian would even leave WWE in 2005, and amazingly, he would go to TNA and overnight become an established main eventer, a position he would be embedded in until his last day in the company. According to Jim Ross on his podcast, McMahon's resentment towards Christian was focused on his physique. I thought it was kind of absurd because Christian deserved more time. Could have helped us. He could have worked with these guys that were less talented than him and make them look good. I think Vince's issue with Christian was Christian's physique. He's not a big guy, you know. He's always in great shape, but he's not a big guy. And Vince always had these hard-ons for big guys.
Oh, we know.
Teams more often than not. McMahon's preferences for how his talented look often got in the way of giving the fans what they wanted, and this was definitely the case with Christian. Even when Christian won the world title on 2 occasions in 2011, the reigns lasted 4 and 27 days respectively, which highlighted McMahon's dislike for the man himself. Number 4, Cody Rhodes. The American Nightmare Cody Rhodes finds himself firmly cemented as a face of WWE in 2025, but over a decade prior, things looked bleak for Rhodes in WWE. Rhodes had managed to connect with the fans as a babyface, and the reaction to him at the 2013 Money in the Bank event spoke volumes. Fans were rooting for Rhodes, and they were more than ready for Rhodes to take the next step in his career. This love for Rhodes continued as the Rhodes family storyline, which featured the Shield, received universal praise from fans.
So good.
Rhodes was able to be spotlighted in the rivalry.
Such a good match.
On the brink of greatness.
So good.
Now, main event singles run should have followed these hot few months for Rhodes.
Nope.
However, WWE ultimately decided to change his character completely. He would then become Stardust, which was basically another version of Goldust, and the fans instantly lost interest.
Yep, they it's like he was getting to that peak of, all right, or I wouldn't even say peak. He was reaching that level of, okay, we got to start looking at Cody more. We got to start. The fans are starting to get behind Cody, and then this happened, and he made the best of it. But this was fucking ass, and people knew it. And you didn't care no more. You didn't. He had to leave. He had to.
Fans wanted Rhodes at the top of WWE, and they did want Rhodes to receive a new outlandish gimmick that had a short shelf life. Rhodes' work during this character would dip dramatically, and he justifiably asked for his WWE release in 2016.
So good. He needed to leave.
Rob Van Dam. In 2002, Rob Van Dam was ranked the #1 pro wrestler in the world by Pro Wrestling Illustrated. This was completely accurate, as RVD was so beloved by all demographics, and WWE really should have capitalized on this by attempting to make RVD the guy. Unfortunately, this popularity wasn't enough for WWE to give RVD a shot, as although he was rumored to win the world title in 2002, he would ultimately be bested by Triple H at the Unforgiven pay-per-view. Additionally, by the time WWE rolled into WrestleMania 19, RVD couldn't even make the main card. It was claimed that he had backstage issues with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and if this is true, then this petty issue prevented WWE from having a beloved organic
I can see that happening too.
at the top of the card, which is exactly what they were crying out for at the time. Number 2, Rey Mysterio. It hasn't been uncommon for WWE management to give in to peer pressure, as well as fan demand. When Rey Mysterio was pushed with a Royal Rumble win and subsequent world title victory, the fans were happy to see Mysterio in the role, but Vince McMahon just wasn't convinced. McMahon would have no doubt acknowledged that Mysterio was popular, yet Mysterio was the opposite of what McMahon liked out of a world champion. One of the most petty and pathetic booking moves of all time, McMahon would commit to booking Mysterio's world title reign like it was an absolute joke, and this ruined any legitimacy that Reign could have had. Thankfully for Mysterio, this bad booking didn't stop the fans rooting for him, as he was still on his way to reaching his iconic status.
And it's just one of those things where Rey is so over and will always be over that no matter what WWE has ever tried to do to book this guy in a horrible fashion, people will still always cheer for Rey. People will still always love them some Rey. So outside of that one time when they wanted Daniel Bryan to be in the Royal Rumble and it came out, it was Rey, and I think that's the only time I can think of that Rey Mysterio got booed. They weren't booing him because of Rey, it was just booing because they wanted Daniel Bryan in the Royal Rumble. So
interestingly, whilst McMahon no doubt resented Mysterio's popularity at first, over time the two were said to have developed a good relationship, with McMahon even giving Mysterio multiple other world title reigns over the subsequent years. And number 1, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan catapulted into the
Speaking of Daniel Bryan,
around 2012 in WWE. And once Bryan had firmly resonated with the audience, there was no coming back. The fans had boldly decided that Bryan was their guy, and they were going to stop at nothing until WWE committed to making Bryan the #1 guy in the entire company. According to various reports, Vince McMahon reportedly didn't fully embrace Bryan's insane popularity due to a combination of factors, including his unconventional style and Bryan not fitting the typical WWE top star mold. Unlike a lot of names on this list, this resentment from McMahon and no doubt others in WWE would gradually change over time. McMahon eventually realized what Bryan had to offer as a performer, and McMahon had gone from trying to cancel and diminish his popularity to changing WrestleMania plans in 2021 to incorporate the man himself. But when
you really think about that, because Vince was still in control at that time, how time had changed his perception of Daniel Bryan. He put him in. I think I've seen reports Daniel Bryan didn't even want to be in the match. Daniel Bryan didn't even want to be in the match, but Vince wanted him in the match with Roman Reigns and Edge. And this was a great main event. This was so fucking good. Like, this is one of those things where it's crazy when you think about it. Because even now, I think if Daniel Bryan wanted to come back to WWE for one more run, I don't think anyone would have an issue. Granted, Vince is not there anymore, but if Vince was in control, he would have no issue with him coming back, bro. Because they actually had a good rapport towards the end of his run in WWE. And I'm talking about Vince and Daniel Bryan. But we all know the stuff that we saw in the Yes Movement promos leading up to WrestleMania 30, all the stuff that the Authority was saying is exactly what Vince felt. That's why it made this story so good, because this is how we know Vince really feels about Daniel Bryan at that time. He felt like he was a B+ player at best. And it's so funny, years later, he looked at him as a top guy. It's crazy. But hey, man, it's weird how things happen in the wrestling business. But comment down below, let me know some other wrestling related videos y'all want me to check out. I definitely will. I appreciate all love, support. Road to 150K. Appreciate y'all kicking with me. See you on the next one. Peace.